an expert. You're going to be an expert.
You think so?
Sure.
I don't think so. I don't think I'll make it.
You're racking your brain about that. I will see you guys later.
All
Have
right.
a good weekend, okay?
All right. Or maybe I can make it. What are you doing, dude?
I'm doing...
You ready, Caiden? All right, man. I compressed it and everything.
Possibly not.
Possibly not.
Possibly dead,
Well,
possibly alive.
I mean, I just clicked the button, so it's recording. Hello, everybody. This is Chance Martin. Chance to be on the podcast. We are in a different area today. We're in the Crusaders room. Please comment if you want. It's up to you. If you prefer this room or the music cave. I had to think about what room I film in. But the music cave. I think I might use this room for special episodes because this is my 5th episode right now. But Caiden, do you want to introduce yourself, man?
I am Caiden. I am a geek, and he said Crusader news, and I unironically thought of invading Mongolia.
Nice. Why that place?
Crusaders pushed back the Mongols
Oh,
out of Europe.
I didn't know that, man. I've heard like.
I guess you could talk about the Holy Land, invading the Holy Land.
Yeah, was that like during World War II time?
Hundreds of years before.
Oh, okay. You know
That
what,
would have
man?
been
I'm gonna say straight up.
500 years?
This is great to have someone that knows his history, man. His history, dude. Yeah. I've thought about getting history majors. Well, I had one already. Here's a man. You're not even a history major, man.
Yeah, I major in major pain, and that's just because it's a major pain to complete math classes. It's also a reference to a very hilarious movie.
With Dwayne, what's his name? What was that? The actor's name again?
I don't know.
Really
I don't remember
talented
actor,
guy,
but
man.
it's hilarious.
Dwayne, it is a really major pain is the movie. It's like an early '90s movie, and it's not bad. It's just this.
From a storytelling standpoint, it is horrid, but from a joke standpoint, you're going to be laughing quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's very unrealistic, but.
Oh, definitely. If you do anything with military history, it's horridly unrealistic.
And especially putting like 8-year-olds to like 15-year-old kids in through like the military stuff.
Well, that's actually kind of a real thing.
It's to
ROTC, but yeah,
they
very
oversaturated in the whole film, to a point. But it is a great film for a family night, man. And I have to look up the guy, man.
More like you're incredibly bored and you just need an excuse to laugh for no reason, and that's your go-to movie. That and Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings is a bona fide classic.
Damian Wayans is the actor, man. Dang, Damian Wayans. He was in Lethal Weapon, My Wife and Kids, and also he is
Those all sound like the late 90s, early 2000s. Those family comedy movies that would come out that were always garbage, but they at least got you to laugh once.
Yeah, like those early 2000 films?
The late 90s, early 2000s. It was just chock full of... If you grew up around that time, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I'm looking one right now. 2000 movies.
Like The Tooth Fairy, Major Pain, Cool Runnings was one.
What?
Kangaroo Jack. It was just full. It was just full of those stupid, straight to VHS or DVD movies.
And DC did the same with their movies. You had, and they started off in the '70s, dude. DC, they did like Supergirl. Have you seen that movie?
No.
That movie's really garbage.
But, the garbage comedy movies.
But dude, straight up, man, they could have done way better on that. I didn't know that we were gonna. Every time when I talk to Caiden, man, like. The conversation starts up from here to something way over here, man. And it's nice. It's nice to have conversations like that.
We're talking about how what the Crusaders did, and then suddenly we're talking about Kangaroo Jack. And
like the Crusader News team goes into a where exactly the Crusaders did?
Exactly, it varies, but mostly they were over around the Holy Land area. Specifically, Jerusalem was a common place to be invaded. At that point, it was owned by the Ottomans.
Oh, like in the Rome? Oh, okay. Like in the Bible times?
No, that came after that. In fact, the reason they invaded was actually biblical themselves. They wanted to, because the Ottoman Empire was a predominantly Muslim country, and Christian Europe was not a fan of having what is considered the most holy, like the place where Jesus lived.
Right.
They didn't like that. They didn't like that Ottomans owning that. So they basically the kings of Europe, or the Pope, said, "Hey guys, we should do something about that." And they gathered up their warships and giant armies, and repeatedly, over and over again, throughout a course of, I believe it was hundreds of years, invaded again, and invaded again.
Yeah.
Basically a giant thorn in the Ottoman side, which wouldn't be fully, I don't think they would lose it till the end of World War I, or at least all the territory that would become Israel nowadays.
Yeah, because how Israel's going in right now, that's I don't know much about. I want to learn more about the Israel things. Hey, it's nice to have Caiden on the show for this reason. Yeah, and this reminds me, I would love to have Tirza back because she's a history major, man, and I would love to ask questions like this with her. But anyways, man, do you think a lot of that, the Israel, who are they fighting against now? Is that the Palatines, right?
If you look at it from a geopolitical standpoint, Israel is pretty much disliked by anyone that borders them, pretty much.
Yeah.
They are definitely, they're supported by America and Western Europe, but the Middle East does not like them because most of the Middle East is either I think there's Muslims, Sheikh Muslim. I could be terribly wrong. I don't know the religious map, but I do know the geopolitical map. And if you just put it into places that don't like Israel, it's like all of Western Europe, the United States, Canada, I believe most of South America, and then there's all around them they're like quite literally surrounded by people that don't like them. But most of what you'll hear in the news is the Palestinians, but they've been invaded by Egypt and Syria on multiple occasions. I believe that was the 6-Day War and the...
Was that like...
The 6-Day War and... I don't remember. There was another one.
You want me to look it up
I'll probably remember like later, but you could look it up if you feel like.
After the video, like after I click off the video. Oh, Chance, this is the...
I'll lay in bed, I'll go to sleep, and then I'll be like, I remember.
I remember it now. Yeah, man.
But, yeah.
What do you think about everything's going on right now with Israel?
I don't really keep tabs of it. I'm a history guy. When you say the words right now, I can tell you historical context, but I just, the news within like the past probably 2 decades, like 20 years, like the 90s, I couldn't tell you that much about it.
Right.
Like my main focus is like in the 1940s, 30s, 50s, like the World War II, Cold War, with Vietnam and Korea, like back then, well, in the 50s and such, back then Israel didn't even exist as a separate political entity. It was owned by the British, I think, who created it.
What do you think? Oh, my bad, man. I was just gonna say, why do you think a lot of people don't know about this? Or like no one really talks about this.
Talks about Israel?
Not Israel, but...
Or just history in general?
Well, college history. I haven't took college history yet, but I wonder if that talks about that too. You know, just what you're been covering. You know, what you're talking about.
Well, I'd say the real reason is
because there's been a lot of wars that I did not know. You know, till how media has been kind of pushing in like the whole Ukraine war. You know, and
oh yeah, that was big. The reason why that's big is, well, kind of obvious. It's the first major European land war since the end of World War II. I mean, it's not the first, last. There was wars after that in European soil. I mean, there was what do they call that? The Donbass separatists, and then the Crimean War. Is that even considered a war? It was more of a straight-up occupation.
You want me to look
But
them up?
yeah, those come like down the timeline, so I don't know as much about them.
Yeah.
But the reason, like, this is just straight up the boxing gloves are off. This is bare knuckle boxing now, kind of thing. That's why it's making major news. The reason they don't talk about Israel and the quite literal, almost constant border skirmishes and stuff is that it happened so much that people just stopped caring, which sounds kind of terrible, but
It does.
after a certain point, people are like, these guys can't. It's like the Balkans. Like in the 90s, the Balkans were pretty much chaos central. And most people don't know about that is because they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And after a while, the news people realized this isn't front page news anymore. This is like sky is blue, grass is green, the Balkans are in crisis. It's definitely calmed down a lot since the 90s, but the chaos of the Soviet Union collapsing and Yugoslavia just not existing really just put that area of the world in pretty much what could be described as a cheese grater.
Do you read history books, man?
Well, of course.
Right. I didn't.
I mostly do video now, as most people
a
do.
lot of people do like research, you know.
Yeah, I've read through more World War II history books.
I would assume that you would do history books, you know, or read history books, man. So is that on your bookshelf at home or what?
Military history books consume just about half of that bookshelf.
Nice. Oh, really?
But they're not all World War II. I got some with the generalized history of the Army. I even got some that my brother had before he moved out and obviously didn't want to carry a butt ton of books with him.
Right.
He had a lot of Civil War books. That was his thing. He liked the Civil War.
What war are you more into, man?
World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. The Cold War is one that I particularly can do a lot with. It's because World War II, I mean, if you like World War II history, everybody expects you to remember operation names and dates and battles. Like, that's important, but I remember, like, the big things. September 1st, I believe, 1939, invasion of Poland, the beginning of the war. What was it? 1941, France fell. 45, the war ended. Like, I remember dates really well, but months and days, I have terrible memory with that. There was one other, but, you know, of course, just like everything else, it just slipped straight out of my mind. I have to really think to remember some of these dates, but I do know. I think I could recall the exact day Barbarossa, Operation Barbarossa happened.
That you know it would be crazy if you fell history. If you fell history, dude.
It's actually happened before, but I wasn't as into history then. It was like,
what got you into history, man?
World War II in color. I became interested in history and tanks through probably the most I'd say lowest of forms. but I don't want to be like that offensive. But tank video games, loved them, and I was like, well, what's the history behind these vehicles?
You're not alone, man. People just play them, you know. People just play Call of Duty, you know.
Yeah, but
and I bet you I don't know if, you know, when that Call of Duty World War II came out, I don't know if people looked up half of those wars or not, or just played the game.
most people are going to be playing the game.
Yeah.
There are of course the armchair historians that haven't read a single World War II book in their life and didn't watch like survival recounts, which if you see like somebody talking about the war that was actually there, it's definitely worth a listen. It really puts into perspective.
Because I remember in high school, and I would like to ask you, when you were at home, you were homeschooled, right?
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, assume so. And you did some high school stuff too, huh? Like in liberal, right?
No, the high school was completely online. It was a great excuse to be a social recluse, and it was also a great excuse to do your assignments last minute.
I mean,
that was definitely lazy man's paradise. I'll just put it that way.
what, homeschool? Homeschool would be nice.
Yeah, that was lazy man's paradise. I really should not have passed.
I mean, you're not alone on that, man. But I don't know how all the homeschool stuff works, man. Did you like it?
I thoroughly enjoyed it because for the longest time I was what we would call the shy kid, the one that quite literally just there was people and
Right.
This is where you were walking and this is where you went and you went all around, you went past them.
Do you think, like...
Don't make eye contact.
Don't look at me, don't look at me. Going into college, do you think it's kind of like refreshing for someone that's homeschooled?
Oh, it's a new experience. I wouldn't say it's refreshing because refreshing has the connotations of, this had the same effect as if I got a very acidic drink, spilled it all over myself, went, oh my gosh, what do I do? And panicking because, like I said, homeschool was lazy man's paradise.
Right, because you're...
College is not lazy man's paradise.
Yeah, man. It is not lazy man paradise. How long have you fail in your first semester, man?
Math, that was just a given.
College?
That was just a given. That was beginning algebra. I took a placement exam, and they looked at my scores and were like, I'm sorry, this is the lowest class we could put you in, but it's still legions higher than what you could
I love HBO Max, and I recommend it. You know, the price is up there. Well, not that bad, I don't think.
I don't buy streaming services.
You don't?
Like,
No.
I have solved the TV issue for as cheap as humanly possible. You get a VCR that works, that's the expensive part.
Does.
That's the expensive part. And then you go to these like thrift shops.
Yeah.
And I've gotten VHS tapes for as low as 25 cents. Full hour-long movies for like 25 cents.
Nice.
I got Jurassic Park, like the first movie, the one that everybody remembers, and then you tell them there's sequels, and they're just like, they made sequels?
Yeah, yeah.
But
everybody knows the Jurassic World, you know, and Jurassic World 2.
that reminds me of the con. The con of that is, you know, the Jurassic World's the new movie that they made. Can't watch new ones.
Did you watch the third one? Or did you even watch the new ones or no?
I watched the Jurassic World once or twice.
Dude, that's...
Honestly, when
Steven
I watched...
Spielberg had a crazy crew, and I don't know who the writer is, man, but man, that's great. That was just great. That's a great movie.
Yeah, but... When I watched Jurassic Park, I was super into dinosaurs. I was like 8, 9, 10.
Oh, you were?
And I was watching this movie where people literally die on camera and not thinking twice about it. Just like, it's a good movie.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, you know, that was a pretty cool shot. How did they make it look so, like, real? You know, Steven Spielberg?
I think they show the actual death of one guy, but the rest of it just cuts out before they die. Like the guy who gets, I used to be able to.
Was it in the toilet or something?
Yeah, it was that guy.
Yeah, it was that guy, pal. Yeah. Don't be that guy, pal, man.
The goat just like disappeared, and then its leg hit the windshield. I think it's been years since I watched this, so I can't believe I even remember this much.
It's so weird because when you watch movies these days, and especially horror films, they take a lot of scenes from the Jurassic Park, and they kind of just they like
reorganize them.
Yeah, like Scream 6 had some moments like that. I don't know if you've seen Scream 6 yet.
I hardly watch movies. That's why I can get that's why I could get away with the whole VCR trick. Is because I don't watch that many movies. Right. And the ones I do watch, I usually just watch when I just like feel like a movie I watched in the past. And like I said, that early 2000s, late 90s comedy movies, like I have a lot of those. And they're just easy to get because, like I said, super disposable movies.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So how many old consoles do you have right now, man? Or
tapes?
Tapes, yeah, tapes. I don't know. I said old consoles. Maybe I was just going for like, record players. What is it, man?
Disc?
Yeah, disc.
Yeah, I have lots of old technology.
I don't think I'm like that young guy that like doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. You're about my age. You grew up too around that time.
Yeah, man.
But I've collected stuff that's way older than me. I collect all kinds of things: military history, cultural, ethnicity kind of things, and old technology. So I just collect all that kind of random nonsense. I would list it off, but I'd be here all day probably.
Right. 5 hours later.
Be like 5 hours, and that's all my cassette tapes.
That's
you
crazy.
You look over at me and just like.
Who's your favorite artist?
Well, that goes into another thing.
One band?
I don't really listen to mainstream music. I often listen to what I listen to what my parents listen to because that's what I grew up with.
Right.
I think the newest artist that I listen to is The Weeknd, which, according to my brother, he's really into music. Everybody and their dog listens to The Weeknd, so.
The Weeknd, man?
Yeah.
I listen to The Weeknd once in a great while, man.
But yeah, most of the songs I listen to are kind of like how I said I collect cultural and ethnic stuff. Yeah. That's how I started collecting is because
sorry, man, I was looking up old
because I listen to mostly folk music from around the world.
So you listen to other country music too?
Yeah, most of the time I can't understand language except for English, obviously, and German.
I like this band called The Who. The Who. H-U. Yeah. I maybe play a little bit.
I think my brother has the vinyl of them. He collects the vinyls.
Oh, he does?
Or music things.
Music things.
His collection is so much more focused than mine, but you get a music nerd in there, like he's got Queen albums.
Is your brother a music major or no?
He's not a music major. He's actually at one point he was an art major, but he can't decide to save his life. To be honest.
And what's your major, man? Because normally I go on a script, but
well, I already said my major was major pain.
Oh yeah, my bad.
To be a major, man. It's major pain.
Major pain. That's a good one, man. Yeah.
That's why I always say. I mean, it is a reference to that movie, but more so, it's a reference to how much a pain it is to do general eds.
It is, man. I was gonna say, and this is like Who, by the way. This is how do you even say this? Have you ever heard of them?
Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah, basically, man. They're pretty cool.
I've listened to everything from the drums of Native American tribes.
Yeah.
To I've even listened to Mongolian throat singing, but that was surprising.
Well,
it started off sounding like what you would expect traditional Mongolian throat singing to sound like.
Right.
And then I heard the rock band, and I was like,
Why do you think K-pop is such a big thing? Why do you, and you have sisters, right?
None of them actually listen to K-pop.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe that's a stereotype. My bad. Because girls like, my bad.
I remember that. Remember Gangnam Style? That was really big there for a while.
That was a decade ago.
You didn't have to be so blunt about it.
It
like,
was, man. That was like
2012,
dude. Or that had to be 2011.
I'm not even that old, and I am constantly reminded how old I am. I kid you not.
Dude, I'm going to say straight up, man.
I have a nephew.
Yeah.
I have a nephew that I know when he grows up that he will be like, what's a CD? And I'll look at him and I'll be like, everybody knows what a CD is. I went to a class. This person wasn't even that much younger.
What, recently or what?
This was last semester. She didn't know what a CD was. And I was like,
dude, my mom had
no, she said compact disc.
And what I was looking up earlier, man, I was looking up like this brand my mom had, and it was a CD player. And it was also, my dad had this recorder player or
cassette player?
Yeah, cassette player, man. It's been a minute, man. And I'm running on like about 4 hours of sleep last night.
I don't know how some people sleep that little.
Man. And people say in college, dude, people don't get much sleep.
Well, that's true, but I don't know about 4 hours of sleep.
4 hours of sleep?
I mean, there's a point where there's assignment and then there's my sleep, and my body just has its priorities in check, where it's just like, failing the classes tomorrow.
Are you like an old man? Like or an older man or an older person?
I feel like an older man. I have like back aches, and my hips will ache if I walk too much.
Right.
I kind of shuffle around sometimes, especially in the morning.
I was kind of.
So yeah, I kind of feel like an old man sometimes.
Like my question is but I don't think you're alone on that, man. Yeah. It just depends how. A lot of that's like genetic too,
I think it's just my posture and just
Probably.
like sitting doing school assignments, hunched over.
I've heard weird stories like that, man.
A little old mouse. Barely peeking over the desk.
Or how people are on. Yeah, man, I shouldn't. But, people are like this.
Well, for me, that's not an issue. I hardly ever mess with my phone.
Dude,
we got
the phone is so easy. Yeah, man. It's like an hour goes by just a blink of an eye on your phone, in my personal opinion. I'm on YouTube.
Never experienced
YouTube.
I have done that on my computer. You click on what you click on. Like, I remember I was watching. We'll go back to an classic example, World War II in color on YouTube. And I kid you not. I mean, those are long documentaries, but they kept me on the edge of my seat. Hour gone. Episode 2, hour gone. Episode 3, hour gone. And then nowadays there's the YouTubes where you watch like the kind of memes, like the literal things that are quite literally created to be funny but waste your time.
Yeah.
You could sit through 30 of those and you'll be like, look at the clock. It's just like, oh, when did it get that late? Or you could look out the window. I was sunny outside. It was sunny outside when I started.
Yeah. This made me think, because I had a conversation with some people with, just the same thing, and they don't have that problem, but they have that with films, and I wish I had that. Like I love to be on YouTube because it's so informative in a way, but sometimes I could, use my times
better.
better. Watch a whole full-length film, or actually do my assignments.
That would be useful. I've gone there.
Yeah. Have you?
And I've gone there, and I've the Bovington Tank Museum, which if you have deep wallets, good idea to donate to them. They are quite literally what I'd qualify as a charity. The Bovington Tank Museum, they're a British tank museum, which probably has one of the most comprehensive collections. No, haven't been left the country, but I have stuff from all over the world.
Have you been to any other countries?
Nope.
No.
All my stuff is imported. Like I was telling you about the Baladica earlier, that's from Ukraine. I got Russian nesting dolls, which are from Russia.
Yeah, and do you want me to explain to some of the viewers what the little
The Baladica?
yeah part of the guitar?
Well, mine actually sounds like a guitar, but they usually don't have that guitar sound, like that typical Baladica sound. That
Right.
You'll often hear it when hearing songs like Kalinka and stuff like that.
Like you mostly see
Or
in,
Troika, that's one of my favorites,
like
Troika.
like those little, what are those?
Picks?
Yeah, no, those little guitars, man.
Well, yeah, they get pretty small. But
Yeah.
they make them in all sizes. There's some that are as tall as people. I think those are called alto balalaicas. I'm not
Dang,
sure.
man.
But they're like as tall as people. And there's other ones where you're like,
Have you thought of getting into a violin or?
I thought about it, but you know, there's one thing. Violins are expensive.
You are.
The good thing about the balalaika is it's very low demand, so you can get one that's like a cheap one for $100. I mean, it won't be that great of an instrument, and it'll probably have some damage on it, but it's cheap. Like mine has steel strings, which if you've ever seen what would you call it, like an orchestra, these or ensemble, I think. I am not a great music guy, but an ensemble of them, you'll know that they'll have like one or two guys with those. They sound like guitars, and they often play like secondary to the main. Like the main balalaika sounds, of course, the lead.
Yeah.
And then those guys will play like the secondary notes, and then the alto one will play the bass. Like you can make an entire ensemble out of those. No, but I know you can in Alaska, which used to be, the fun fact, that used to be owned by the Russians.
Oh.
Alaska used to be Russian territory, and that's why they have a balalaika ensemble and traditional folk dance. There's even Russian architecture that survives from that time.
Honestly,
like the churches
I cared
in Alaska.
Oh, really? Honestly, I wish I cared more about like, or paid attention to more like history in high school and middle school, you know, or you know. Kept going
I
up
wish
with
I
that.
wish I did too, but like
Yeah, I know. Look
it's
at you, man.
it's a developed taste. Like
Yeah, I
even
guess
if you
so,
didn't
man.
like it back in the day, you
'Cause
should at least dip your toes in it again, because
Everyone's
you'll like
different on that,
yeah.
man. I've been getting into like biblical history, you know, very interesting, man. But I did not know Alaska was owned by the Russians. What happened, man?
So everybody's flocking to America, and Russia at this time was the Russian Empire,
Right.
which is honestly, if you really think about it, kind of hilarious. It barely met the description of what an empire was. Like everybody thinks when they think empires in the 19th century, they think Britain, Germany, Austria, or Austria-Hungary, I should say. That kind of offends some Hungarians out there. Playing second fiddle to the Austrians, but Spanish Empire during the 1700s, not really much during the 1800s because that was their downfall. Portuguese empires, but Russia used to be an empire, and they owned land in the United States. But basically what they took was anything anyone else didn't own. They kind of just showed up and was like, huh, well, plant their flag. We live here now. And they went there, but the thing was, as you know, Alaska, to them at least, was pretty much Russia. It was just as cold, had bears and pine trees, like it wasn't like the overseas empire of Britain, where they could import things from like the Middle East, like textiles or things, or the spice trade that was around the Horn of Africa. They couldn't do that because their empire was smaller, and like all their imperial holdings were basically extensions of Russian territory. And Alaska was the closest thing they got to an overseas empire most of the time. I mean, you could count some guys running around. I heard a story once where there was a Russian guy who tried to claim the Horn of Africa for Russia.
Wait.
I don't remember his name.
This guy was trying to
Yeah, it was like an independent guy. He wasn't part of the government. I believe he was Cossack, and he tried to claim the Horn of Africa for Russia, but that was owned by the French, and the French
was
didn't.
he from Africa? Do you know?
Oh no, he was from Russia. He was a Cossack.
Oh, he was. Okay.
So like, that meant he was part of the Cossack horsemen, which are from around Ukraine and that area around Russia.
Right. So he set some French people off, huh?
Yeah, he like occupied an already abandoned fort, which had probably been abandoned for years, and it was just like, this is Russian land now. The French weren't happy about that. They come knocking on St. Petersburg, which was then the capital of Russia, before Moscow was, and they started knocking on St. Petersburg's door, and they're just like, hello, why did you invade us? And the Russians were like,
imagine that, just one single
that's
guy.
him.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
I think it was him and a small tribe of Cossacks or volunteers. Like, we're talking 5 to 15 men.
5 to 15 men.
And they were like, do what you want with him. And he was arrested by the French and kicked back to Russia. But that's a whole side tangent. But of course, the Russians didn't know that there was gold and oil in Alaska. They were like, why does this benefit us? And they were going through hard times, and they're like, let's sell it, but we won't sell it to the British.
Was this way before World War One?
That is
almost in this time frame.
I'd say almost in a time frame like mid to late 1800s, I believe.
I remember hearing like stories that had to be with the there was like somehow man, I wish I remember the story. I remember hearing it my junior year in high school, but there was a guy, and it had to be in World War I. There was like 7 assassins or 7 guys that they were trying to kill this prince, and they had bombs, and they were keep missing, and does that ring a bell?
Oh, you're talking about the assassination attempt on
that's right. That's
Austrian Prince Franz
story.
Ferdinand. I think what happened, I think it was the same guy, is first he threw a bomb, which bounced off the car and flew, I don't even know where. Scared him, so he took a detour. No, there was 2 people. The first guy tried to kill him, and then he missed the bomb, which scared him, so he took a different route than he was planned to. Right. And he walks across this guy who is part of the Black Hand.
Wait. And I was just checking my time, by the way, but we're good on time. But so this was before World War I happened, right?
This was what most historians consider the inciting event of World War I. So literally what caused it.
So 1912-ish, huh?
That would have been 1914.
1914, okay. And so this prince was of Nigeria.
He was of Austria-Hungary. He is Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. The first bomb misses. It scares him, so they change route. And because this guy was pretty much scripted to die on this day, like there's a book of the history of the world already written, and his part of the script is die here.
Right now.
And so he takes a different thing. And this guy, he's a member of the Black Hand. Austria at that time owned the Balkans. Right. They were known as the powder keg of Europe. I wonder how they got that reputation. Anyway, he was kicking around. He wasn't planning on assassinating Franz Ferdinand that day. He wasn't even on the trail the prince was supposed to take. But because he was scared, they were pretty much directed themselves back to where they came as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And he just happens to drive by, and this guy's like, well, shoot, it's my lucky day. Draws his pistol and shoots.
And there were 7 men. I remember hearing about that. And I remember hearing there were 7 men that tried to do it, and they were all dying off slowly.
I only know of 2 of them. The guy who threw the bomb, which caused him to change course, and of course, the member of the Black Hand. I think they might have all been members of the Black Hand. I don't know. Maybe you're thinking of 7 members as all the members of the Black Hand.
Yeah.
There might have been 7 in total. But everybody knows, or I don't remember his name, of course. I'm terrible with names, but he drives by, and this guy's just like,
Man.
draws his pistol and takes his opportunity and
I
just
remember
dashes
my
off.
history teacher, how people reported this guy went in to get a sandwich because he gave up killing this guy, you know? And I was told everyone else died, and somehow tragically. So this guy goes in and gets something to eat, next he comes out, and there he is, the man he's supposed to kill, and he shoots him, and next he gets caught. And
Yeah, it started a war with Serbia. That war
that'd be
branched
like
off
a
into.
crazy like short movie to make, or a movie, you know?
Hey, I've seen short movies. I've seen really good short movies, actually.
Me too, man. Oh, I just put some water.
I think one of the best short films I've ever watched was a Danish film about not Danish. Nope. Danish. Sorry, I had to put my mental map of Europe together. And it was about the invasion of Denmark in 1940, like during World War II. They were invaded in 6 hours. The record holder for recorded history as the shortest invasion ever, I think.
Who was this again?
Nazi Germany invading Denmark. It took them 6 hours to conquer the entire country.
Dang, dude. 6 hours.
Yeah, and it was little casualties on both sides. It's about a Danish regiment, like what it was before the war and how things were how they were starting to get worried. And they actually fought after the after the invasion had ended. They were still fighting on, and the Germans were hesitant to fire at them because they were like, why are they fighting? The war's over. They've already signed the peace documents and everything. But they just didn't even know. And it was, of course, they touched on how a lot of the Danish people. I'm just really going through it because, you know.
It's a lot of recall.
Yeah, it's
well,
like.
It's easy for you, man.
I have to, like,
you know,
the way my brain works, I have to recall the entire map of Europe, place Denmark, place how, like, what's happening, like the German invasion of Denmark. Like, my brain just does the most tediously inefficient way of doing that.
I'm going to be honest, man, because we're kind of, time is almost, you know, it's almost time for you to depart, you know, but I was going to say, you should go into history, man, because I honestly, because I'm kind of like this too, man, just kind of here to get your gen eds, you know, yeah, man, I recommend going into history.
Hey, if anyone from the Bovington
That's
Tank
awesome.
Museum wants to hire me, I will take you up.
Dude, yeah.
No question.
But I could be wrong, man. Yeah, man, do what you want. Wait, what? Who's that? The museum?
If the Bovington Tank Museum says, hey, we'll fly you to Britain and we'll pay you for you to live here so you can work for us, I will take that up. But of course, they need professionals and not like I'm a wild nerd out in the open.
That knows money.
That knows some. I have to be honest, I would consider most of the stuff I recited in this basic history compared to what I've seen. Yeah. I've actually gone
How do you
in the
think
back.
college history is going to be?
Difficult. I mean, history is really easy when you care about the subject, but if you don't care about the subject, it becomes a lot harder very quickly. But I've been actually, I was fortunate enough where they were having a slow day at an air museum in Wichita. I don't remember what it was called. I think it was just the Wichita Air Museum or something very generic like that. And they invited me to the back room where they keep the stuff they don't display, their archives. And I got to poke around there and ask questions. And I think that was a great experience personally.
Was this recently or what?
Semi-recently, but last semester.
What museums have you visited, man?
Anyone I get the chance to.
Yeah.
Several. My main ones that I like that I have the most memory of. It's the 45th Infantry Museum, which is Oklahoma City, I believe. There is the Colorado National World War II Air Museum, which is, I don't think it's even national. I think it's privately owned. The actual National World War I Museum, the one in Kansas City, you know, with the giant monument, which I went onto the top of. It was honestly a great view.
Really cool.
and the one here in Liberal, Kansas, which is the Mid-American Air Museum. I've actually volunteered there before, but I was just sitting there wiping the planes like if I was a juvenile delinquent that had to do time. Like my crime wasn't bad enough to get me in jail, but I have to do community service, and since that's owned by I think. I've seen them do community service, but I was there willingly. I volunteered there just so I could get close to the planes, and I spent half the time cleaning, half the time gawking at the military aircraft, like, looking up in them, getting close to them, because they have those little barricades. I've lived here long enough to where some of those aircraft, they would actually allow you to get close into. I actually been in one of those aircraft where they would allow you to go into it.
Yeah.
And they don't do that anymore.
I wonder why, man. But
it's probably just because people started breaking things and throwing it around. Like, I think there was this it was this private jet they had, and it had like a carpet interior, and like they would allow you to go to the front. This was like on a school trip. They allow you to go to the front, and they had like all the decorations still in place. It's not one of those ones that's completely gutted, like that helicopter or that airplane. Anyone who's been to the museum knows what I'm talking about, because those have always been there. Right. But they have completely gutted planes you could get. No, this was an airplane that was pretty much brand new, besides the fact it was 30 years old at that point. But it's now closer to 40. Yeah. Aged myself again. But it was like a full airplane you could go through.
Yeah, that's pretty sick, man. And you're talking about at the Liberal Museum, right?
Yeah. They also have events. Like, I recommend anyone who hasn't been there go.
Yeah, I recommend it too, yeah. Do you remember, I remember some field trips out there. I don't remember going into the airplanes because me and Caiden went to the same school, right, in Cottonwood.
Yeah.
And before you went homeschooled, and Eisenhower, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
remember
that.
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
May it rest in peace. Lincoln Elementary.
Maybe they'll turn that into a gas station. Yeah.
Just plop a gas station right next to a school. Just like.
I said that because I went to Lincoln, and next I went to Washington, and Washington is now a gas station. So. Yeah, that would go cool. Like
a bit weird.
A little bit. They're both tear down, so.
Be a bit weird. I think they're probably gonna either extend the park that's next to it, like across the street, kind of like they did with Blue Bonnet. They built that little bridge. Like, oh look, bigger park. I think that might actually be Blue Bonnet if I think about it.
You think so? I don't know.
No,
I don't know who's in charge of that. I don't know if the.
I don't know. I wouldn't know my way.
Would that go more into the mayor? Do you know?
Oh yeah, that'd be the city authority that controls that.
Yeah.
Probably not directly by the mayor, but he can definitely influence what goes on.
The city of Liberal, I don't know. But Caiden, man, it's good to have you on the show, man. This is kind of neat, man, because I'm off script today, and this is pretty cool, man. I had a nice conversation, and also it's 3:05. Yes, that's why I was like debating to
get out of here.
Yeah, it's 3:07 actually right now, man. So.
But good thing I'm already ready, so I can just turn out and drive straight over there.
Yeah, man. Well, and thank you everybody that tuned in to this episode, and you guys have a good night or a good day actually. Caiden, got anything you have to say?
Something stupid. Let me think.
That could be something stupid.
Yes, something stupid.
Something stupid.
Do something stupid this weekend.